Hello everybody, this is Stephen Howson and this is the Q&A. You all sent me some questions on Twitter and I'm just going to read them and hit them back at you, and then when we're done I'm going to press stop on the video and I'm going to upload it. Simple as that. Get the Where's Wally comments out of your system right now. Okay? Alright, let's continue. I'm joking. No, I'm not joking. I'm serious. Right, so this one is off Barry McGinn. At Barry McGinn. Your predictions for next year's Premier League top four. Now this is a good question. I think Leicester come out of it. I think they're going to finish 5th. I think United come into it. Spurs stay in there. I would expect City to be in there with Pep. I think he's going to really struggle early doors. But I think he'll still get them over the line. I think Spurs will win it. I think we'll come 2nd. I expect City probably 3rd and then 4th place. Oh man. I mean, it could be Arsenal. If they had someone like Lukaku and a decent centre-half, they're going to be a nightmare. It could be Liverpool under Klopp. They look a lot better, despite not really putting out much more in terms of points per game. Could be Chelsea. I doubt they're going to be as far down as they currently are. Could be Leicester. I just expect there'll be a little bit of an element of tapering off at some stage as they come to grips with playing in Europe and in the league at the same time. They're not used to that. Ranieri is, but the squad won't be used to that. So I think you're looking at Spurs, United, City, and one other. Could be Liverpool, Arsenal if they strengthen. God, if Arsenal come out of the top 4, can you imagine the uproar from their fans? Oof. That might be worth seeing just for the sake of it. They're kicking off that they're not winning the league at the moment, so there you go. Jose or Ibrahimovic to come to United in the summer, you can only pick one. Well, considering that the shelf life of both of them is probably going to be not too long, I would probably go with Jose at the moment. Maybe turn it around and get us back on track a little bit. See what sort of effect he can have on us. I don't know. Probably Jose. Although I think if you can get Jose and Ibra, the confidence / arrogance that's going to be coming out of the club is going to be very interesting. Sorry, I'll give you a name for that one. That is Burrows on Twitter. That's at L3Urrows. So thanks for that one. Liam Edwards with this one. Wenger in or Wenger out from a neutral point of view. I can understand the need for change from Arsenal because they have stagnated massively, and 2 FA Cups doesn't suddenly make him the best manager in the world. He won 3 Premier League titles in 6 years, was it? 08, 2002, 2004. Success. That is what success looks like. You win 3 in 6-ish years. Although in between United did 3 on the bounce and then we won in 2003 as well. So it's actually more like 7 years. But yeah, essentially that's what success looks like. That's where he's set the bar. Now he's not come close to hitting that bar since, really. So when do you say he's not got that ability anymore? Or I don't know. Because the nightmare for Arsenal fans now is if they get rid of Wenger, and they're constantly hitting this 4th-ish spot. If they get rid of Wenger, what if the next guy can't hit the 4th-ish spot? Like I just said about the top 4, the top 4 looks really strong at the moment. The top 6 or 8 looks really strong at the moment. So what is going to make the difference in all of that? I think a real top-level goal scorer. If they'd have got Suarez, like, was it Carragher saying it? They might have won a couple of the leagues in recent times. Maybe not 2, but they would have been definitely more in contention because he would have brought them goals. I think if they get a real top-draw goal scorer, which they've got the money to do, I don't understand why they don't do it. That's the problem with Wenger is he goes for very, very similar players. Be them defenders, midfielders or attackers. They're all very much of a muchness, aren't they? There's no, like, difference in personalities, and I think you need differences in personalities. I don't know. I don't really like to say one way or another unless it's completely blatantly obvious, because sometimes, I've said this before, it's better the devil you know than the devil you know. You might know that you get in this constant level and maybe he'll peak one year and they'll win the league, although it feels unlikely. It feels like everyone else is a bit more cutthroat and a bit more ruthless. He probably needs to develop his own mentality and stuff like that to get them over the line, but he's done it in the past. So I don't know. I couldn't say. I can see the reasons for wanting him to change, but I also think that you could do a lot worse than you've currently got. You could also do better. So I don't know. Good question. Adam Parnell, how do you feel since you're no longer a top club and every player has rejected you? This is from a Southampton fan who sells all their best players. We are definitely still a top club, and if you read this shit, then yeah, we get rejected a lot. Now, United was linked to 200 players last season, and we signed 7. So that means 96% of the players that we were linked to, we didn't get. Now, do you think that United had negotiations with 200 different players, agents and clubs, or do you think that the papers just made some shit up? There you go. There's your answer. This is from Roshi Byrne on Twitter. If when Holly comes through Shevchenko, is the Misha rematch a certainty, and how bad is a matchup is Nate for Conor at 202? I think McGregor beats Nate. And the reason I think McGregor beats Nate is I think he went into that fight treating it like a public sparring session. I think he tried stuff and was more flamboyant and more risk-taking than he needed to be because there was no title on the line. He wasn't defending a title. He's not defending an unbeaten record, so I think he went in there to have fun. And I think it's very evident from, was it the end of the first round onwards? Was it the end of the first? He was basically trying to knock him out with an uppercut. And I think he might have realised a couple of things. One, Nate's a lot tougher than he expected. A lot tougher than I expected as well, because I thought Conor had a hell of a shot on him. And I think a non-weight cutting Conor would have been a nightmare throwing those hands. But he was looking for the uppercut knockout constantly. To the point where you're going, what are you doing? He was leaving himself open. He tried to take too many of Nate's shots. He didn't respect Nate. And I think he's not stupid. He's not going to do that again. I think he boxes more clever next time. And I think it's literally just as simple as that for me. He boxes cleverer next time, and that's that. People clowning on Conor's ground game. Conor's a brown belt. If you've ever rolled jiu-jitsu, a brown belt will fuck you up, right? 7 different ways from Sunday. They will do whatever they like to you, unless you're a black belt. And then once you're a black belt, I mean, there might as well be another 10 different belts because there's different levels of black belt. And Nate is a legit fucking black belt. The reason that they have belt categories is so you're not competing with people who are going to fucking ruin you. Black belts will ruin brown belts, more or less. You do get the occasional brown belt, very, very, very occasional brown belt winning the Abu Dhabis and stuff like that. But generally it's black belts, and that's for a reason. Conor is a brown belt, and he will be a legit brown belt. Which means that he'll be able to fuck me up on the ground. He'll be able to fuck probably 99% of the population up on the ground, except for black belts who know more. And there's also the thing that straight jiu-jitsu, sport jiu-jitsu, you're not getting punched in the face. And there's an analogy people use, which every single blow takes you down a level. And Conor was getting fucked up with blows, so I think if he keeps it standing and doesn't take as many shots as he did last time, because he was wobbled at several occasions during that fight, I think you have a whole different fight. But again, good question. This one is off Liam Simpson, which is Simpsy27 on Twitter. Do you think Ryan Giggs could be a future manager? If so, do you think he should get experience or stay and learn as assistant? I think when you're an assistant, you're shielded from the flack which managers get, and managers get a lot of shit. Sometimes it's justified, sometimes it's not. I think as an assistant, you're allowed to sail under the radar a little bit. You generally only get praise when things go right, and you'd be like, wasn't me, when things are going wrong. So I think he needs to go and experience Premier League management, maybe even Championship level management, or I think cut his teeth a little bit on the under-18s first. It's crazy allowing him to step into the Manchester United job on the back of 4 matches. And the fact he was a player for 20 years, I think he's got to get more experience than that. He's got to experience the transfer market, buying and selling, contract renewals for players. He's got to experience squad rotation, keeping unhappy players happy and useful in the team. He's got to do squad management. He's got to look at bringing academy players through when the right time to tell someone they need to retire is. And I think all of that sort of stuff you can't really do as an assistant manager, where you're being given input to the guy that makes the decision, but when you've got to make the decision, I think it's a little bit different. This one's Ryan Mears. Miocic or Verdum prediction, I think Verdum coming on the back of that fucking destruction of Cain Velasquez is a big favourite. Miocic is dangerous. He's not in the heavyweight title fight for no fucking reason. Both of these guys are coming into this peaking. So this is a great fight. And the whole UFC 198, probably because it's in Brazil and not in Vegas, and probably because UFC 200 is on the horizon, and the whole Conor Ronda hype train sort of been derailed a little bit with them both losing more recently. This one's flying under the radar massively, but this is a fucking excellent card. I mean, Jacare and Vitor on the co-main event is... I mean, that's a title eliminator. You've got Chris Cyborg on here. This is a fucking excellent card. We did have Anderson Silva and Uriah Hall. Anderson's had to pull out with gallbladder surgery, so it's still an excellent card. I'll be recording it and probably watching it hopefully before I go on Sunday, but probably after I come back, I think. I'm at Bama tonight, which has got some excellent fights in it. Real top-level UK MMA, so if you're interested, I think it's streaming free, so check it out. Just Google it. I'm sure it's out there. You can watch Bama, so go and watch Bama. Would I like to see Roy Keane manage United or given the chance on the coaching team? That's Dublin Red 7 at Celtic Red 7 on Twitter. Yes, I think there's a place for Roy Keane, and I think depending on who you have as the manager, you need the good cop, bad cop sort of thing going on. Fergie's most successful ones was obviously Brian Kidd, Carlos Queiroz, Steve McLaren. And Fergie would be the bad cop, and Steve McLaren and that would, sit down and maybe do more individual talking to you. They would run training and stuff like that. With Roy Keane, he's 100% going to be the bad cop. By the sounds of it, too much of a bad cop, and perhaps his expectation levels at the likes of the clubs that he went and managed at was probably a little bit too high. The player's not quite up to the standard that he's set. Now, if he went to a top club, I think that might be a little bit different. I've no idea actually how he's been received. Isn't he the assistant to Martin O'Neill with the Islands side, or have I imagined that? I'd have to check on that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how he's been received either. How he goes down. I think the mentality that Roy Keane has got is borderline psychopathic, and I think that's what you get when you are an extreme winner. His man management skills probably leave a little bit to be desired, but you would need like a real fucking calm, relaxed manager and have Roy Keane as your snarling pitbull assistant. And I think it could go down over. Maybe that's what would work with Ryan Giggs. Maybe Ryan Giggs and Roy Keane would be a good team, because people look at managers on their own, but they're not on their own. They are usually a team of people, their assistant and several first-team coaches that they take with them everywhere. They are as much as a team as the guys that are walking onto the pitch. It's just that the manager's generally the figurehead of all of that. The likes of Reddy Mullenstein, real good technical coaches, would probably be good for that as well. So yeah, I think Roy Keane could do a real good job in top level football, and I wouldn't care if it was at United. I think he could probably do something with that, and obviously he cares deeply for the club. I think he just shows it in a different way. I think he demands that highest standard of the club, that it comes off as being aggressive and nasty and talking down a little bit to the club. But I think that's because he expects so much. Next one. So this is Mitroglou on Twitter. Apart from Man United, what other teams do you have a soft spot for in the UK and enjoy seeing them winning? Nobody. I do have a little bit of a soft spot for FC United. I like the attitude of everything that's going on with FC United. I have a little bit of a soft spot for Droylsden. That's where I grew up. Apart from that, no one. I don't really give a shit about anybody else. I don't mind going watching non-league football, but I have no affinity to any of them. I just like to go and watch the football, watch the level, watch the tactics, watch players' ability and how it changes and differs in different things at different levels. And I don't go supporting anyone. I generally, if I go and watch someone like Stalybridge Celtic or somebody like that, then I'll be hoping a little bit that Stalybridge win, because I'm in with the home fans. You're not going to go to a ground and be that arsehole, usually surrounded by a load of home fans cheering for the away team, and you don't really care about the away team. So I'll join in clapping and celebrating with the home team usually, but I don't really have any sort of affinity with any other side apart from Manchester United, first team, 21s, reserves, 18s, 16s. So yeah, that's it. Just Man United. That's basically it. Don't really give a flying fuck about Rangers or Celtic, or anyone else like that. So no, that's just me. That's it. Simple as that. Jones or DC says Snags098 on Twitter. I think the first fight between Jones and DC was a lot closer than it eventually ended up looking on the scorecards. DC took one round off. Was it the fourth round he took off, which ended up basically just throwing it completely. I think he tried to conserve energy, thinking that he would be able to do something in the fifth, or it was the third and the fourth, something like that. But the first two rounds were extremely close and could have gone either way. That's why I am a fan of Joe Rogan's half-point system. So instead of just being 10-9, 10-9, 10-9, I like the idea of having, a 10-9 and then maybe a 10 to a 9.5 round, because then 2 9.5 rounds, you're going to end up with a draw if the final round goes the other way for a 10-9 round. Because I think too often you end up with draws when really, the rounds were a lot closer. It's a daft system. You very rarely see 10-8, so I'd be in favour of bringing in the half point, because sometimes you are completely dominant and sometimes they are like... I would like to see more rounds given as a draw, because sometimes rounds are a draw. I mean, how do you quantify that? Oh, you hit him with 3 jabs, he hit you with 1 straight. Which did the more damage? Is it the number or is it the quality? He took you down, didn't do anything. You stuffed a takedown and went for a Kimura. Which one is more? If you take somebody down, like the takedown seems to be favoured massively. But if you don't do anything with it, if you take me down and I pop straight back up, knee you in the head, surely I should get the points for that. The scoring system from boxing doesn't work. Boxing's, without being disrespectful, it's one-dimensional. You're looking at punches to this sort of area, and that is it. And it's easy to go like for like with that. How do you quantify a head kick to a straight right? How do you quantify being shinned in the fucking face versus a takedown? I think I'd rather be took down than shinned in the face. Damage, octagon control, all that sort of stuff. Judging's difficult. I do think it would need looking at and reevaluating. Is the fact that we lack world-class players like Bale or Griezmann the reason we fall short in games and not LVG? Asks UTDM7 on Twitter. Probably a combination of both. I've said all season that I think we went hard on Muller and Bale over the summer and failed to get them. And I think we didn't sign Anthony Martial on deadline day because that was what we was working on all summer. And I think we had a list. Martial was at some point on that list. And after the other players had said no, or the clubs had said no, people forget that as well. It's not like going to Tesco. You don't just like walk into a club, pick them up, and then go to the checkout. There's negotiations and all sorts of shit have to go in place. And a club sometimes might go like, do you know what? We like that price, but let us try and set up a replacement before we agree to your price. And then that might fall through, which means yours falls through. So it's a lot more complex than a lot of people give it the credit for sometimes. So I think if we'd have got those world-class players, we would have scored more goals. We would then more likely not have been in the position that we're in going into the final day of the season, hoping that Swansea can pull off a miracle against City to get us into the top 4. Let's find another one. Tom_MUFC1 on Twitter. Tom O'Donnell. What was the first ever Man United game that you went to? It was Southampton in September 1991. I think we won 3-2. I don't remember the game, but I do still have the programme from it. I was 6. My view on McGregor versus Mayweather. This is from Willie with 2 A's 11. It's not going to happen. It's simple as that. And if it happens in a cage with unified rules, McGregor's going to kick his fucking teeth in. He's going to kick him to the body. He's going to kick him to the legs. He might even take him down. And it ends inside 2 minutes. 3 minutes tops if Mayweather sort of runs off a little bit. Now, Mayweather did do a little bit of professional boxing. I think he had 2 fights and was an area champion, I think, in Ireland. Not exactly the Irish champion or anything like that. Before switching full-time to martial arts, mixed martial arts. the same thing happens. McGregor could probably survive longer than Mayweather could, due to just the nature and the rules of boxing. Could he see 12 rounds out? Not sure. I mean, McGregor's style. I'm looking at his style in MMA with his hands down and his wide stance and stuff like that. I doubt he would have that stance in a boxing ring. I think he would have a high guard. I think without seeing what he's like boxing, it'd be very difficult to say. I don't think he wins. The only chance he's got is that Mayweather has slowed down since he's stopped or reduced his training. Age beats everybody eventually, doesn't it? So if Mayweather has slowed down, and obviously McGregor's still sharp, then he has a puncher's chance, because that left straight is a fucking left straight from hell. And if he lands it, I think Mayweather is going to have a bad time, but the problem is landing it, because Mayweather's so elusive, so slippery, so good defensively that McGregor doesn't win it in boxing, and Mayweather doesn't win it if it's MMA. Nor will it ever happen. I'm sure there's contractual reasons why that can't happen. I saw Mayweather saying that it's definitely going to happen. It's not going to happen, so don't get your hopes up. It'd be interesting if it does. It'll probably break a lot of records if it does, but it's not going to happen. Who's going in the summer? Says Fraser Summers at 11. Probably LVG, mate. I think Fellaini, there's been a fair bit of talk about Fellaini going to Italy. So I could see that happening. I think Phil Jones might be on the chopping block. He's played a lot in the under-21s recently without being anywhere close to, one, looking like he's about to break back into the first team, and two, not really looking that great about it either. Could see Yanazai going. I could see Rooney going. I could see Rooney looking for a fresh challenge. And I don't think it'll be in England. I think it'll be America or China.